Whilst you were in the queue, you were extremely nervous and it didn't feel right somehow.
I just didn't feel comfortable. I just felt like poorly, if you will. And then Dan actually said, he's like, "Are you all right? You're a bit quiet."
Because you were on the ride with your mate, weren't you, with Dan? Dan Thorpe, isn't it?
Yes.
So once you got on, it was obviously one of those problem rides on that day, because it went wrong a couple of times, didn't it? You had to get off.
Yeah, I think I've heard of it doing that anyway, so it was just sort of something that happened.
And then you got to the top of the loop and stopped there for quite a while.
Yeah.
When you set off again, and we've heard this from Joe and Leah as well, telling their sort of sides of the story, who were also in the front of that carriage. How much were you aware of what was about to happen?
Well, we couldn't see anything because we'd literally got on the ride and we were right at the top, so we didn't think to look down. We were just like looking around because we were really high. So we could see quite a lot, and we were just sort of talking about that. And then I'm sure Joe said something about getting his phone out and taking a picture, something like that. So we were all just sort of chatting. And then obviously there was a tannoy that came through, and they said, "We'll get the ride started again soon, so don't worry." But I've heard of people coming off at that point anyway. They just stopped the ride and then they helped them down. So I've heard of that. So I just thought that's what had happened. But then there was a massive clank and we set off.
And you saw this empty carriage in front of you, and you said in your head your thought process was, well, there's no way that we're going to hit it. That can't happen. Things like that just don't happen.
Yeah, it sort of, for me, it sort of went slow motion. So it wasn't, I didn't see it and it just happened. It sort of, we went down and then went round a loop and everyone was screaming because it's scary. And then it was really exciting, and then all of a sudden it was just horrifying. And because it went slow motion, I was just like, why is it there? I was like, I can't, this doesn't happen. I was like, no. I'm like, no way.
When you were finally taken down and taken to hospital, what was said to you then?
I just kept asking for my mum over and over again. I weren't listening to what people were saying. I just kept saying, I want my mum. I've got my mum's phone number. I can tell it you right now. And I asked multiple people. I asked like the ambulance service, the fire service, and asked a policeman as well.
So who contacted you the first time? When did you know that this horrific accident had happened to your daughter?
I got a phone call about 4 p.m. to ask if I'd seen the news, which I hadn't. And he said who he was, the policeman. And first of all, obviously I hadn't seen the news, so I didn't know what was happening. When he said there'd been an accident, I thought it was my son, because he does a lot of motorway driving with his business. And then when he said, Victoria's asked me to phone you, obviously I said, well, what's wrong? Is she okay? He said, she's been injured in the accident, so put the TV on straight away, and it just knocked me sick.
No, can't
Literally.
imagine. Can't imagine what that...
My main concern was I wanted to get to her as soon as possible. I wanted to jump in the car and go as fast as I could.
When you got to hospital, that process of trying to stabilise your leg, trying to save your leg, and it was in a terrible, terrible condition. Your leg was in a dreadful mess. At what point was it discussed that you might lose it?
I was laid in the bed and there was multiple people around me. There was a lot of surgeons, so obviously they had to get plastics involved and everything like that. There was a lot of nurses like telling me different things, like making sure they had my personal information, things like that, and then taking my jewellery out, multiple things. And then I think it was just before they took me in, as I was signing the consent, they actually said we might have to amputate. I'm just obviously letting you know because it's what you're consenting for. I just thought, oh, well, you hear it all the time. They've got to say these things because anything could happen.
Well, they tried so hard over the coming days, weeks. They tried so hard to save it, and then unfortunately, the pain you say was dreadful. You couldn't stand the pain. It was almost a relief when they had to take it off.
It was unbearable because I couldn't control my leg at all. It was just there. It wasn't my leg. I couldn't control it, and it didn't look like my leg. It just looked horrific.
You went to the safety laboratory where the actual carriage from the wreckage is there to go and see it for the first time. And how did that feel for you seeing it there?
I wanted to see it because I thought it would help me sort of get over it, and I was really curious at how it looked because what I remember might not necessarily be correct, so I wanted to sort of confirm that. So as soon as we got there, we drove in and they were there, so I got upset because obviously it's the car that we were in.
Of course.
And it wasn't nice seeing it. It was just all just crumpled and just sort of mashed together, because it sort of went in that kind of like a V direction, because on the back of the rides there's something that sticks out like a tow bar, if you will.
I see.
Right in the middle. So obviously, as we've sort of collided, the middle bit's sort of gone into like between me and Leah. So obviously that's why it's gone like that. But the ride is about where our feet were. It would have been about that big. So we've hit it at such a speed, it's gone to about that big.
Oh my gosh. And did it help? Did it help you to piece that information together, just to give you a bit of a clearer idea of what happened?
Yeah, it definitely helped. I couldn't touch it. It sort of knocked me sick even thinking about touching it. But I wanted to see, obviously, how it looked, and it definitely helped.